charter commission meetings to the best of my ability. I've not made every single one. I think I've actually missed 2. But this group of individuals who are members across our entire community, from every corner of our community, have come together, and they are our Continental Congress. To watch them in work has been nothing short than just awe-inspiring. They have taken up every aspect that has been presented to them under the guidance of our attorney, Mr. Randall, and they have debated it, and like the chairman stated, they didn't always agree. They had healthy debate, they went back and forth, and they took a vote. When things came back around and it was brought to their attention, they dutifully deliberated upon it, brought forth all these different ideas, and came to a decision. And this product that they have brought to us, that they will present and consider for their very final time tomorrow evening, is a charter of the people. Like you heard several of the commissioners say, it is not the charter according to Mr. McDaniel, or Mr. Dowdall, or Ms. Finney, or even Mayor Pro Tem Roberts, or the charter according to Councilmember Krenek. It is a charter that is the deliberative process brought forth from the group effort of every resident that had a voice and a representative faction in the commission. To the commission members, I applaud you for your work. I know how much time you spent reading. I know that Blodgett's is not the best handout and guide to read, but for my fellow colleagues sitting up here on the dais, that's your expert, Blodgett's. Every single one of us had it in our Dropbox, had everything that the commissioners had at their disposal to read. Mr. Finney, for the importance of transparency, I have read everything that this Charter Commission has read. I've reviewed their minutes, I've listened to their debate. And yes, oftentimes people remind me that I am an attorney, but I do not offer advice from my position tonight. I speak to you as your elected official. As to the proposal of which the motion's already passed of not suspending Grady, that's completely illogical. If we are going to have an expert opinion, someone review a document, it is essential that everyone who participated in the process can work with that expert. An expert does not work in a vacuum, and if they do, you will never have a reliable opinion. They have to be immersed in the process through which our commission and our attorney went through to arrive at the product. Action item D calls for a systemic legal review of not only the product, but the process. In an effort of transparency, and I will say, I don't believe in getting in the mud and wallowing. That's not the type of politician I am. That's not the type of person I am. But having someone review the process about which we arrived at the formation of our charter commission and the product that was produced was requested of this city. Mr. Snipes has had multiple conversations with Ms. Mesic, as has Mr. Ross, as has Grady, of Ms. Mesic's complaints about Grady working with the Charter Commission. That is not leveling allegations. It's not a personal attack. It's a fact. And I don't think that's appropriate because, yes, I am one vote of 5, but we are bound by the collective. The 5 council members who put your Charter Commission together voted in a majority to approve the Charter Commission. We, as your council elected representatives, should be bound by that decision. That is not up for review. Those 13 people have served us well and have served us responsibly and ethically under the guidance of Mr. Randall. That should be eliminated from our scope of work with Denton Navarro. I submit to you that the spirit in which these items were brought was for a purpose of delay and derailment. And I bring that to you as a statement of fact. I was at the Charter Commission 2 meetings ago when Ms. Mesic had a yelling match in the parking lot with our city administrator. Chief Seymour witnessed that. He alerted the mayor to it, and he broke that up. The result of that is because certain items weren't being handled in the way that were being demanded by Ms. Mesic. That is inappropriate. that is a personal agenda. That is not transparent. And I will not be bound as that by elected official. I will stand up for what's right. I will not engage in personal attacks. I will only share facts with you. And by sharing of the facts, if that means that this community doesn't support my work or believe in what I have to say, then they will answer that call at the ballot box. And I agree to be bound by whatever vote you choose to cast. But as I sit in this chair, which I consider an absolute privilege and honor, not a right or something I'm entitled to, I will honor each one of you. I will honor our commission, and I will be bound by the collective that we decide, even though I'm only 1 out of 5 votes. And again, I can't speak highly enough of the product that I have had the opportunity to review every step of the way, because I got to see the Continental Congress of our city in action. I got to hear all the ideas that went into that. And for the 2 meetings I missed a heck of a performance. And that's my regret that I have to live with. But I've read the document, I've read all the changes that Brady has diligently worked on, that Byron spends countless hours at his office putting together, which is the collective voice represented by 13 members of our commission. I would encourage each of you, once the commission hands their final product after their vote tomorrow evening, to read the 22 pages. And as an attorney, I review a lot of documents. I issue opinions on a lot of the documents. I won't be taking that task here because that's not my role and that's not my function. But I can speak with absolute truth that it does not take $12,000 to review this 22-page charter. For us to authorize that type of expenditure is exactly as Mr. McDaniel and Mr. Stacy stated. It is frivolous and it is irresponsible. I would welcome the review by a competent law firm, which I believe Denton Navarro maintains those credentials, but I do not believe it is necessary for them to drive here to get the 22-page document. I believe it could probably be faxed, or if there's a copy charge for that, we can email. And I would prefer email. It's more responsible and sustainable. Before we approve this, we definitely need to look at the scope of work. We do not need to be irresponsible with our tax dollars, and you should hold us accountable if we are. Thank you.
Councilmember Mesic.
Yes, well, I'm taking the brunt of the attacks, and I'm okay with that because I'm a plain-spoken person, and I would really like to defend my honor as well, because the intent of what I propose to you, everybody, is basically the essential basic review, and I've stated it in my notes, what I'm asking you to do. I really appreciate all the work that the commission has put together. I've attended 2 or 3. I'm not an attorney, so I'm not outspoken or well-spoken as most of us, but I really believe in getting an essential review and looking at the process and looking at a document. I believe Mr. Zek is the attorney. He is proposing, from what I've seen, a cap of $12,000. This could mean that he's here one meeting, working with the home rule charter, and then he's gone the next because he just looked at everything. Everything looks wonderful. One of the things that I've requested is to have an education by Mr. Zek to actually walk the council through the process of the home rule charter from the beginning to the end, and basically do the home rule charter product review, and then have a joint meeting with the home rule charter commission and a joint meeting with the city council, so we can have a conversation, a dialogue about the issues that might be uncovered in the review. There might be nothing in the review, and that'll be great, because then we can feel comfortable and confident that we go to the voters and we really believe in what has been produced. So with that, thank you everybody who spoke. I really appreciate it. I think Fulshear community is really important, and I'm not going to talk to you as a politician, but as your neighbor. I live in Cross Creek Ranch right now in Fulshear. I lived here for 4 years, and I love living here. I think what we are actually doing is very important. We do need a home rule charter, and we do need a document that governs us, but let's look at the importance of this document and its integrity, and let's look at it from a perspective of review, and then we finally can feel comfortable sending something to the voters, hopefully in May. Thank you.
Mayor, how did we,
Further comments?
we made a motion
here and was able to join us this evening. I think that any order that you give us as Greg likes to say will hopefully help them.
Okay, well, $2.50 an hour, since it is a specialized review, and if he does have credentials, I'm not gonna argue with him on his hourly rate, but I do think we need to reduce the cap, for $12,000. I mean, that's a crazy amount of money for a review of a 22-page document. I don't think, I mean, his letter of review, and I'm just gonna read for him. He says, based on the scope of work you described to me, I wouldn't expect that the fees and costs to exceed $12,000. This amount would include a review of the current draft charter from a legal and policy, quote, traps perspective, attendance at a proposed joint city council and charter commission meeting, and approximately 4 additional meetings, whether they be charter commission, city council, or joint council and charter, and work necessitated outside of any meetings. Of course, this amount is dependent on the complexity of the issues presented in the length of the meetings, and he has not seen the proposed home rule draft. His charges are no staff time, which is good, but rate of $2.50. All related travel, which I believe is coming from San Antonio. So he's charging for travel. Mileage will be charged at the current IRS rate. Copy rates are 20 cents a page. Color copies are 70 cents a page. Fax rates are 50 cents a page, so we should definitely email it. And they do not charge for LexisNexis, Westlaw, or any other online research fees.
Also, in the essence of time, I would request, if council chooses to proceed with this proposal or a variation thereof, I'm going to request that they complete their work by December 29th, so that the council has a week to consider that before our workshop on the 5th.
Actually, could we back that up? If today's the 15th, oh, well, that's Christmas, okay, I'll go with that. December 29th, that's a great date, and a firm worth their salt. And if he's familiar and he's agreed to, and he's submitted a scope of work to us, then he should have more than enough time. That's 2 weeks from tonight to have it completed, excluding Christmas, which obviously no one wants to work on Christmas.
Is that an amendment to the motion?
Yeah.
Or just a comment?
I make an amendment to the motion that the work be completed on or before 5 p.m. December 29th.
Do I have a second for the amendment? Second. An amendment has been proposed and seconded, so that Mr. Zach would complete his work by December the 29th. Let's hope he's not off on a ski trip. Attorneys don't get ski trips either.
No comment.
All right, any further comments? Are we ready to vote?
I was just going to quickly ask a question. I actually communicated, just trying to get information to help give him an idea of scope. So that is certainly a very broad scope. They're working for a whole lot of cities. You just never know how many meetings it may end up taking. He was doing a lot of it blind, not trying to defend him, but he wasn't sure that the draft was going to be done today like it is, and if he was going to need to attend tomorrow's meeting. He's available tomorrow as of last week. So that's another question, if the council and the charter commission wanted him to attend tomorrow. I don't know his availability of actually, I'm assuming this passes, I didn't email him the charter tonight,
Well,
correct?
with all due respect, if he is giving us an expert review, it doesn't necessarily need to be in the systematic process of putting it together. He needs to review what comes out of our process. I mean, that's an appropriate expert opinion. They are looking at a product. They are not interjecting themselves in the product to help it get to the final formation. Because if they're in part of the process, then they shouldn't be eligible to review what they have helped in any way, shape, or form create.
Okay.
It maintains a level of independence and peer review.
It was the fact that there were 2 agenda items that kind of.
Sure. No, I understand, and I see how that interrelates, and I kind of figured the scope of work was based on
Mayor,
that.
do I need to state the motion?
We have an amendment to the motion to specify that Mr. Zach complete his work by December the 29th. I think we said
5 p.m.
5 p.m. And so that's what we would take first and consider that, vote on that, and then we'll get back to either the amended motion or unamended motion.
Just to further Mr. Ross's point, we don't don't know how deep the review is needed to be. Hopefully, it will just be maybe 2 hours or 1 hour, just like this time to read it. However, I really don't want to stifle our expert in telling them by what time they need to complete the process. I believe that CJ Snipes mentioned in his conversations with Mr. Zek, it'll be January the 5th workshop with the council and with the Home Rule Charter Commission, right?
We laid out
Okay, so you have already had that conversation and discussion about it.
Well, the
If
charter
you look at
commission,
the charter
the charter
itself,
commission doesn't know what council is going to do tonight. So there can be nothing planned past this point in time.
so Mr. Zek
We
has
have
not,
a workshop planned or tentatively planned for January the 5th. My thinking was, it's not fair to give you Mr. Zek's work over January the 1st and expect you to have that absorbed and synthesized and comment on it by our workshop January the 5th. So it seemed to me that December the 29th would give ample time for that review.
I would really like to prevent our expert from taking his time in review. Granted that it's probably going to be less than the hour, hour, 2 hours, that everything has been done as Grady said, and everything is,
I'm sorry,
if everything is just how it should be, and everything is ready for us to just get a green light, to be maybe 1 hour at the max, we don't know. But I mean, giving him an end time, basically a kind of a dead, due by the 29th of December, it might stop him, I don't know. It's just my opinion, but this council has a right to think whatever they think too, so.
lawyers work better under deadlines, it's just the nature of the beast.
I'm not a lawyer, like I said, I'm
yeah.
not a legal expert, that's why we're looking for legal experts, and not everybody on the council is a lawyer, so we cannot, do legal advice, or we cannot review and give our legal opinion to items, because we are not attorneys, and we don't know that.
If he has a problem with it, I'm sure he will
Okay.
voice that concern and say, I've got a ski trip and I'm not missing.
Right.
And we just don't wanna, put a deadline on him, he might need a little longer, I don't know.
And I'm
He's
certainly
not
I
here
think,
tonight.
I think as Grady mentioned, I was going to point out that if he, again, sees something that more time needs to be taken, I think we'll hear that from him at that point in time, and, give that consideration.
So I really don't see a reason why we have an amendment for a certain expiration date.
I stand on my amendment because I don't want anything to be derailed or delayed.
And that's not an intent at all, this Krenek to derail or to delay anything. It's to have the process going and going in the right direction.
I
Have a
agree, that's
second
why
set of eyes.
deadlines help people stay on track.
Mr. Mayor, I understand I'm out of order, but if you're gonna have him review process and
Sorry,
in addition to
take your
product,
comments currently, sorry. Any further questions or comments on the amendment? All right. So we'll vote on the amendment to provide a due date or timeline of 5 p.m. December the 29th to the original motion. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries, or the amendment carries. So now we have a motion to approve professional services agreement between the City of Fulshear and Denton Navarre and Rocha LLC to conduct a systemic legal review of the city's home rule charter process and product, with their report being due back to the city by December 29th at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, I make a motion
I'm sorry, we already made a motion, second this?
to amend the pending motion to approve a professional service agreement between the City of Fulshear and Denton Navarre Rocha LLC to conduct a review of the home rule charter product.
Okay. An amendment has been proposed to essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, strike the word process, and the review would consist of the product or the document that we have before us.
Strike the word systemic, legal, and process.
Okay. So essentially, let me just clarify, your amendment is to just have Mr. Zek review the content of the home rule charter.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, do we have a second for that amendment? All right. No second? That amendment fails. Keep one. The amendment fails for lack of second, so we have the current motion on the table for the systemic legal review of the process and the product being completed by December 29th at 5 p.m. Any further questions?
Just a point of clarification, if I may. On the scope, does council feel that attendance of meetings is necessary? Or should he do his review and then determine a recommendation? Or what? Just a little, I need to give him some guidance because I obviously couldn't give him much initially.
We would want him to do whatever in his legal opinion is correct at this point of the formal charter process. So we give him discretion, that's not.
Mayor, I would request that he review the final product only. Involving himself in the process or in meetings other than the presentation of his expert opinion is not an appropriate role for an expert. An expert is looking at an end product. And if they are going to render opinion, they cannot be, by definition, involved in the process carrying forth to get it to conclusion. Having him in the process listening to deliberation is not appropriate. It is not a substantive review. It is a objective review. Does this meet the legal standard test? Is it within the law? Councilmember Tristan even said, we just want to know, is it within the standards of Texas law? And if that is the scope of what we're trying to do, being involved in the process is absolutely improper for an expert.
And so I need some,
Let Councilmember, yes, Tristan.
Okay, I need some clarification then to move forward with this. It is done, right?
No,
I mean, it's not, they have a final draft.
they have to vote on it to make it a final product, to say, we, the commission,
So he wouldn't be involved in the process any longer because it has been drafted. Is that right?
until it is finalized out of the charter commission, I submit that the process is not complete.
But I don't understand, what is this proposing, that he reviews the process that has already been done? Or that he jumps into the process of voting? Grady, I don't know.
I believe that was the intent, but Councilmember Mesic, do you care to clarify
Yes.
what the review of the process is going to?
I just, again, I'm looking for a second opinion of the document. And to make sure, if, to me, seeing how the process was done and completed and there's the final is what would need to happen, but him not be in the process.
right.
But I don't know if
Because I
it's,
totally don't
that's what I
understand all of the workshops and.
I don't, I'm kind of confused
Can
now.
I ask a question? Excuse me. I'm gonna ask Grady. Mount Bellevue is the city you represent. Mr. Zek created the charter commission. He was the attorney that first chaired. You were the second eyes that looked upon that. How did you do it? Did you just review the document or did you review the whole
The
process?
charter commission finished the process, finished the charter. The city administrator sent it to me for second review. I made a couple of comments. They sent it back to the charter commission. It was a comment of, I wanted to make sure the city attorney reported to the city council, not to the city manager. And I thought the mayor should have the ability to put items on the agenda, which they had restricted him from not doing that. The city managers, administrator sent it to the charter commission, they turned me down flat. Mayor can't put items on the agenda in Mont Bellevue.
Did you have any input or attend any meetings of that charter commission for Mont Bellevue?
Only the organizational meeting.
And that was at the outset.
That was the very first meeting. So I did a written review. I mean, it was so informal, it was an email to him and a follow-up phone call.
Did you review how the charter commission
No.
was formed?
No.
Did you review the substantive debate that the
No.
commissioners
It
engaged?
wasn't relevant. They had the document.
So
It's
you
just,
reviewed
is the
it in
document
product?
good, is the document valid, legal, and cover what Mont Bellevue needed it to cover?
So you reviewed it, gave feedback, they told you, this is what we think, you reviewed it, gave feedback, that was the open.
I did it once. I mean, I gave feedback to them once. Again, it was the issue of mayor putting something on the agenda. They said, yeah, thank you very much, but no, we're gonna stay with what we've got. It came up for, It came up on the agenda for approval by council and to call the election. It was not political until it was political. And there are a couple of council members that were against it and all that, and they worked through it, but they passed it, so it was.
Okay, so the way that this is written, systemic legal review of city's home rule charter process and products, please put that in layman's terms for me on what the attorney would be doing based on this.
I didn't draft that language. I have no idea.
Who can tell me?
I believe that, a review of this document,
No,
I
what
think
can he
it
do
doesn't hurt the
within
city at
this?
all. But if we're trying to back up and start the whole process over again,
Is that what this says?
there was a misstatement and some misunderstanding, and Grady has talked about that tonight, I've mentioned that tonight, but, I think Grady is a very honest person. He wouldn't have brought it out and confronted it head on if he didn't,
Okay,
and so that's the whole basis of this, why we're even discussing it
but I
at
want
all.
to know, Grady, systemic legal review of city's home rule charter process and products, what does that say that he will be doing?
I have no idea. I didn't I didn't talk to him. I didn't draft the agenda
So
item.
what-
I
this will
wasn't
be a
told.
legal thing, what does it mean that he will be doing?
Well,
Reviewing the
you-
final
you-
product, reviewing it from the beginning, making them start all over, I think that's a big difference.
Personally, looking at it, when I first read it, I was like, a policy review of a trap? I don't know what that means,
And he's
but,
citing to the letter, that's a statement of work from Mr. Zek.
so, and I don't know what, Mr. Zek was told or not told. To me, though, it looks like you've got two issues. One, you want a review of the document. So the Charter Commission needs to finish the document, and that's tomorrow night for the final approval, because we made some changes, and I assume, CJ, you loaded everything up, that included the cover letter and the.
I got the document, I haven't loaded the cover
Okay.
letter yet.
I sent a cover letter to the Charter Commission. I said, here's the final document. I said, here are we fine-tuned some language. We put a comma where there wasn't a comma. We added a couple of sections. They need to do that final approval. That's one thing, and that's what I think, and I don't mean to speak for Ms. Mesic, but I think that's one aspect of it. Attend the meetings and talk about process from A to Z and soup to nuts, that's something completely different than just reviewing a document. If I draft a contract, if I draft a lease, an office lease, and that goes out for review, that just goes to somebody, review this and get it back to me, I need it this day. And that's what that can be. I cannot tell you what a systematic review or process means, because I didn't draft his letter. I didn't talk to him.
Those aren't his words.
Those are not his words.
Those are not his words?
Those aren't his words.
Those are staff's words,
Okay.
based on the conversations
Well,
we had.
again,
What
I
is
was
this
in the
then
dark,
for
so I
staff?
don't
What did
know
y'all
what
proceed
staff-
to do?
But based on conversations we had with the
Then
council member,
Okay.
was basically she wanted a review of the process in total, and education provided to the council what the process was supposed to be, and then a review of the document.
With all due respect, Mr. Snipes, policy trap perspective, I will tell you, our charter commission, they talked about policy traps. They talked about expanding from 5 to 7, drawing districts here, not having districts, doing wards, having 5 at large to, they discussed every single policy trap. That is substance. Substance is not an appropriate review for an expert. Legal process, does this meet the Texas standards for what is required in a home rule charter? A document review, I think, is what I hear, at least Councilmember Tristan saying, Councilmember Ridge, Mayor Pro Tem Roberts, and even Councilmember Mesic, a review of the product. The language systemic legal review, I think, is too open-ended. Couple that with the scope of work that was provided by Mr. Zek, way too open-ended. This is not about policy traps. I promise you, those 13 people sat in that round in the square in the Irene Stern twice a month or more and talked about policy traps. They are fully aware of what the traps are, and they have navigated and debated that fully. And as far as education goes for the council, it was our job to be there to watch a commission that we appointed. It's our job to read the materials that were provided to us. It's our job to be accountable to our voters, not to pay another $12,000 to teach us what we're supposed to be knowing.
We were told by staff from the very beginning, and it could have been a misunderstanding, in early processes, do not attend the Home Rule Charter Commission meetings. It could have been a misstatement or problem. Our public was
That's
directed.
not for me.
Our public was directed to basically not talk to the council or to the Home Rule Charter Commissions. There was numerous times where our staff actually had to go in and make the misstatements to the public based on some misstatements or problems. I just want everybody to understand the process, how it should be, just a very simple black and white process. It should be the Home Rule Charter reviewed, should be, and I'm sorry, I'm not talking to you in legal terms. I'm talking in plain English that I can understand. So I'd like to then finally, when the review has taken place, I'd like to really consider then presenting it in a joint meeting with the Home Rule Charter Commission and the City Council, so we the council can really put our stamp on approval and be happy and proud of not just the product, but the process. We want a Home Rule Charter to happen. We really want it. But what we really want to do is have a second set of eyes, like I told you from the beginning.
I will take Mr. Finney's challenge once again for transparency. Every single Charter Commission agenda meeting that has been posted, which is a public meeting, so it has to have 72 minimum hours notice. The third sentence from the end on the second page, usually, that Ms. Raymer signs off on every time they have a meeting is, please note, a quorum of council members may be in attendance. It does not say we can deliberate, it does not say we can take action, but we are referenced in every single meeting. So the fact that anyone was told or there was any misunderstanding that council members could not be in attendance at the Charter Commission is absolutely false. It is false. It is a public document. It is a public record. Second, and yes, you might scoff at me and laugh, Ms. Mesic, and I take offense to that.
Direct your comments to the chair, please.
My apologies, Mayor. Just one moment. I know why it was put there. It was put there because they are a commission that we embody, that we are responsible for. It was not so we could interfere with the process, it's so that we could be educated. Because this process started over 6 months ago. 6 months. 13 members of our community have invested 6 months of their time. That needs to be honored and respected.
Originally, the first Charter Commission agenda didn't have the council may attend language.
That's right.
Then when I saw more than 2 of you were beginning to attend, I put that in there just to keep everything legal and square with the Open Meetings Act.
As far as your statement that we didn't have an opportunity to engage or interact or give feedback on the process, equally false. The Charter Commission came to our council meeting, a publicly noticed meeting, and said, please give us your feedback. We want to hear from you. And the reason they did that is because if you read the charter and you listen to their debates, they went to excruciating extents to give future councils, power and discretion. And so that if a DOJ challenge a Department of Justice challenge was happened upon by the city, that the council and the mayor could govern themselves to navigate those successfully. So they asked for our comments. They sent out emails to each of us, at least that's my understanding is the Charter Commission, and they will tell you, if you ask them, we got 3 comments. And the 3 comments were, we've done certain things a certain way for a long time and we want to maintain that. Another item to be revisited was the structuring of 5 to 7 and then the payment of council members. All of those things were fully debated by all 13 people and voted upon. So they took our comments. They have come to us. They wanted to have another meeting and workshop with us. We are the ones that are failing to give them our feedback. I have spoken to pretty much every commissioner that would listen to me and hear my thoughts. My personal belief as Trisha Krenek, the citizen of Fulshear, is I don't necessarily agree with every single tenant in there, but I know why they're there because the group debated them. And they make sense when you listen to the debate. If you look at the legislative intent behind what they put into this document, they have given us that preview for 6 months. To have an expert come in and try to explain something, you know, why they did this or what they could or could not do, it is not an appropriate forum for an expert. An expert is to review the document and say it is within these Texas legal standards. That's what an expert should do. This scope of work is inappropriate and irresponsible if we approve it.
So it sounds like there is, you know, some agreement, from what I'm hearing, to conduct a review of the document, but
One
the
thing,
process is, I don't think is really defined and very clear.
yeah, that's tough. I mean, the language is difficult. I think one thing as far as process review goes, I think the going forward process as presented to council then to send to voting is something I would also like to be given information on from an expert as well as Grady. Where do we go once it is approved and moving on from there?
Grady,
I do want recommendations and opinions on that as well. So I didn't know if maybe that's what the process was regarding, not to go back, but to what do we do going forward?
Grady, does the Texas state law provide us what we do going forward to get it from the Charter Commission to vote?
It does, but if a second opinion removes an issue from the election, if the second opinion removed the issue from the election, the goal, the long game here is getting a charter passed.
No. My question's a little different. I get the removal of a political issue. Have it reviewed by an independent expert, but have it an appropriate review, remove the political issue, saying that, well, this is not right, or this is beyond the scope of law. I get that. That's not my question. My question is, does Texas government code talk about how it gets out of commission and to the council to then transition to the voters? Is that delineated in the law?
Yes.
Okay.
Short
Does that
answer.
require an expert opinion as our council to say what the law says?
Well, that's interpreting the law, and you gotta be a lawyer to do that.
No,
Other than that,
Second opinion.
Interpretation, it can be different.
It's not an interpretation. The law is, it's a
It's-
ministerial function.
it's clear that once it's the magic words, or once the Charter Commission finishes its work, council must call an election at the next uniform election day.
Within how many days?
Well, it can be no sooner than 40 days, but to hit the May election, you have to call it by February 19th. So that's the drop dead date. That's calling the election. So once the Charter Commission finishes its work, the clock starts ticking. The council can do whatever council wants to do. If they want to get a second opinion, get a second opinion. But it's mandatory. It says you shall call an election, so
It's ministerial.
it's ministerial. You've got to call the election. There's a second sentence in there that says, and you'll do everything required to see that that election goes forward. Then it requires the city and the city secretary so many days before the election to send out an actual copy of the charter to every single voter in the city.
Grady and the council. Okay, I would like to make a comment. In interest of the city of Fulshear and all the citizens who cannot be here with us today, I'm asking for a second opinion, as stated in here, conducting the systemic legal review of the city's home rule charter process and products. I also say that if there is any inaccuracies found after this research, we are going to be saving the taxpayers a lot of money. We might not be saving the taxpayers money, but I'm willing to stake my city council position on this. If we are spending our money frivolously on this home rule charter process review, I make a vow to all of you, I will not seek second term on the city council of Fulshear. So with that, I really want to publicly, I said it, and all of you be my witness. I will not seek so process and product is what I'm asking for, and I'm willing to stake. I'm sorry, well, I did. So, Chief, you want to take me to in a handcuffs?
Yeah. Let me remind the audience, please refrain from any gestures or outbursts because it's disrespectful to the council.
I really feel very strongly about this, and there is no personal or anything else, issues or anything in there. It's important, it's paramount to the citizens of Fulshear that we have a systemic legal review of the city's home rule charter process and products. And you have my promise, you just heard all of you tonight, and all of you will agree on this.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry.
Okay.
So,
I-
so let me ask one question. If you have a systemic review of the
Right.
process, what are you gonna do once you get that opinion?
We'll
The
meet
laws
in a
is
public forum.
mandatory that you call an election. So, you know, you appointed a charter commission, it could have been by petition from the citizens, it could be an elected charter commission. But again, I don't mean to be flippant, but so what? You chose this horse to ride, you've ridden it to the, you're past the middle of the stream, you're up on the next bank. So, I mean, have your systemic review, it makes you, if it removes an issue from the election, but I don't know what you will do if you got a report that you didn't like or there was an issue.
So we're gonna depend on the second person to review, to give us that legal expert opinion, what he would recommend that we do.
But that's
So
exactly.
that's what we wanna do.
Okay, so that's exactly what he just said. Once the charter commission completes their work tomorrow night, the law says, as Brady just quoted it to us, the clock starts ticking on us to fulfill a ministerial duty. We can go get a second opinion. I submit to you that that second opinion should say, dear city of Fulshear, your charter falls within the Texas legal standards, or your charter is outside of the standards of Texas as set forth in the government code.
And what do we do if that is the case?
It's
That's what I'm wondering.
So if it's a review of the document or a review of
I
the
don't think it
process?
will be. I don't want anybody to think, I think it's gonna be fine.
But if
Just
it's a
wanna know
review
how
of the process that you could have had an election as opposed, I mean, I don't know how one would opine as to the process. The process is the process. So if you know, it's almost like buyer's remorse. If you could have had an election, for instance, or the citizens could have gotten together a petition, so what? You chose option 3 and appointed a board, appointed a charter commission. I mean, you can get that information. I don't know what you're going to do with it, and if it makes you happy, go get that information.
But that's a
Well, I
good.
think that, we're talking about, reviewing the actual charter and getting that advice on whether everything falls within the code of law.
So if it's on the document, then if there is some gaping, mawing trap that the city's about to fall in,
We impanel our commission again because they were not
ask
disbanded
them to,
and ask them to fix it. But it's still them. It's not our process to review. We are independent of that. And we're independent of it for a reason because we're just 5 people, whereas 13 people have a better collective process than the 5 of us. It's not the charter according to the 5 of us. It's not. And it shouldn't be. And that's why when you say process, that's what, it's too ambiguous and vague to say, look at the policy traps perspective. This is not a review of the process. We chose this method. We chose to impanel the 13 people, and now we're going to abide by it. The second opinion is a smart move. I don't think should cost $12,000, but the second opinion on the document when he says, oh my gosh, this entire section, this doesn't even comport with Texas law. He's not going to say that because, I mean, our charter is modeled on all these other ones that have withstood the rule of law and the test of what it takes to be a charter. Then we can take it back to that, we can go back to the commission, they can either stand on it or they can do what they want. But once they hand it to us, after that opinion, our clock is ticking, we have to call an election. Whether we agree with the document or not. I mean, we can at least give the voters an informed opinion saying, not only was this done under the careful guidance of our city attorney, but we had an independent review of the document, and it's withstood that challenge as well. I just don't agree with process. And Mayor, with that, I will re-urge my amendment that we strike the words legal, systemic, and process.
Do we have a second for that amendment? So what that would do, that would continue